Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder as I head out for a walk and deliver an episode to you while I stroll around. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good morning, listeners. It's a lovely day here in suburban Chicago, or good afternoon, actually. It's just afternoon. I'm taking a walk, and what a lovely day it is. The sun is out. The temperature gauge said 44 degrees. It's February, so the sun it's just about 2 p.m. The sun is already a little low in the sky, so long shadows. I think my shadow is taller than I am right now. But beautiful day. I'm not wearing a hat or gloves. I have my late autumn, early springtime jacket on. I'm not wearing my winter coat, though really I only wore that for about a week this year. It's a very mild winter here in Chicago. We could still get another cold snap, but today anyway, it's gorgeous. So with that, I thought I would take a little time to talk to you about some games I've played recently. That's right, it's Shooting from the Hip Triple Shot. Shooting from the Hip Triple Shot, if you haven't listened to the podcast before, is a first impressions review segment in which I talk about 3 games I've played recently for the first or maybe first and second time. And I talk about what I thought of the games. Will I play them again? Are they staying in my collection? All right, so with that, I also often talk about, I've started this year talking about a 4th game in which I talk about something I have played again that got dusty. You'll remember dusty means I haven't played it for a year or more, so I'm trying to put one of those in each episode as well. So today, we're going to start by talking about Stupefy. Now, Stupefy is a game from the Op. Actually, I think it's Repos Productions, now that I think about it, but it's done in the style of the Op, so I don't know if it's done in some sort of conjunction with the Op, but the art layout is all the same, to the point that I thought it was an Op game because it looks like one. In the Harry Potter, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter games. Now, the games that I've played from this world include Death Eaters Rising, Harry Potter House Cup, and Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. Now, this newest game is Harry Potter Stupefy. This is a friend bought this. I will say for myself, I'm trying to move away from spending money on Harry Potter things, but that's political, and I don't really want to talk about that right now. Nonetheless, it was a friend who had it, so my playing it didn't change where the money went. It was already spent, so I gave it a try. It is a reskin or retheme of an older game called Cash and Guns. Now, Cash and Guns is a game I have played before. I don't recall if I played it pre-podcast or post-podcast, so I don't know if I'll look. You can check the show notes. I'll put a link to previous discussions of that game in the show notes. But Cash and Guns is essentially a bluffing game in which you have a circle and each player has a little standee in front of them that indicates how many wounds they have. And then you have a little plastic gun, a foam gun, and there's a treasure in the middle of the table, and everybody puts a card in front of them that either says bullet or blank, and then they say 3, 2, 1, and you point your gun at somebody. Then everybody has a chance to put their gun down and drop out of the fight, or stay in the fight and see what happens. If you put your gun down, then you're safe, but you also don't get any treasure. If you stay in, then everybody then reveals their card, and anyone who put a bullet in their gun, the person who, if you stayed in and the gun was pointed at you, then you are out for the round and you don't get any treasure. And anybody who's left gets to divide up the treasure, and there's a first player token, they get first choice of the treasure, and so on. Harry Potter Stupefy, exact same mechanisms, except you're using a wand and you're casting Stupefy. So you either get out of the way or you get hit with Stupefy. Now, it's unclear why you would ever not say Stupefy, because unlike bullets, as far as I know, magic is not a limited capacity. Magic in the Harry Potter world is not like Dungeons and Dragons, where you have to memorize a spell and hold it in your head. And then when you say the spell, it's gone from your head and you have to rememorize it. Instead, magic in the Harry Potter world is just, do you know the spell or not? You don't have to relearn it. There are spell books, but you don't have to carry your spell book with you because you can memorize a spell and then you just know it from then on. So narratively, it doesn't make any sense that you'd have limited Stupefies, but you do. It's fine. If you thought that sounded fun, great. It's a little less violent, I guess, than the Harry Potter, or than the Cash and Guns version. And it's got the Hogwarts theme. You get little plastic wands. It was fine. Next up, we have Turing Machine. Turing Machine is one of the games that was given to us as part of our Christmas gifts from the Christmas Game Master. I believe I've talked about that person before who gives each member of my family a game at Christmas time. Interestingly, all the games the Christmas Game Master brings are games that are tailored to the gaming preferences of the person who's receiving the game, but they're also games that Brendan likes. Isn't that interesting? I wonder why that is. So my daughter, who is really into math and really likes deduction games, got Turing Machine, which is a pure deduction game built around a nifty little mechanism. You have this big deck of code cards, and you have this decoding device on the table, and then you have a logic sheet. And basically each round you're going to make a pattern of 3 numbers using these punch cards, and then when you line them up, there's going to be 2 little holes, or there's going to be 4 holes, 3 corner holes that tell you you're holding the cards in the right way, and 1 hole in the middle. And then there's a answer card, and you're going to put the answer card up behind the pattern card you've made, and it'll tell you yes or no. And the way the game works is that the pattern cards are connected to the answer cards such that you are testing different propositions about the secret code that you're trying to resolve. After each round, you can test up to 3 of the possible propositions with each test code you make. Then at the end of the round, you can guess whether or not you're right. And you don't have to guess the code that you make, because in the next round, then you would just write down the code that you think you have, and so on. It's a really interesting game, pretty fun. If you like pure deduction, almost to the point of being just a puzzle, not really a game. I mean, there is a game in that you're competing with other people to solve the puzzle, but you don't try to work the puzzle out together. Although there is a cooperative mode in the instruction book, I haven't tried that yet. That might be more fun as a game. I really like the logic puzzle part of this. As a game, I don't know that I find it all that interesting. The gimmick of the punch cards is pretty neat, but I'm not sure that's enough to sustain it in the long term. I like it for now though, and we'll play it again some. So that's Turing Machine. Next up, we have my Out of the Dust game. So I hadn't played this in a while, but I thought my neighbor might like it, and so I busted out Potion Explosion. Potion Explosion is a neat pattern building game, or a set collection game, in which you have these flasks that represent potions, and each turn you're going to collect marbles out of a sort of runner bin thing, and if you collect marbles in the right combination, then you create one of the potions and you get to make it. Each potion has a special power that you can use one time, and so you can leverage the used potions into helping you complete more potions. This is one of the things that really makes Potion Explosion sing, is that there's no penalty for using your potions. The game wants you to use them, so there's no penalty if you use the potion, so you should, which means the game really drives you to think about how to leverage your potions and use them, and when it's working well, you're solving 2 potions every round, which is the limit, then you get more. It's a really interesting problem-solving game that involves sort of visual conceptions, because the puzzle by which you get to take marbles out of the tray thing involves some thinking ahead and some logic that works. That's really interesting and hard to do, but fun. So that's Potion Explosion. I don't remember the name of the designer, but I believe Horrible Guild is the original publisher of it, and I think Come On Games or Simon picked it up, and I don't know if they're doing it in conjunction with Horrible Guild or if they're publishing it on their own now. I know I have the old edition where it's a cardboard thing. They do have a newer edition that I believe is plastic, which my guess is easier to use because it doesn't fall apart. The cardboard one can fall apart pretty easily, and that's annoying. But Potion Explosion is really fun. If you get a chance to play it, I recommend. I don't have the either of the expansions. I think they have 2 expansions for it. I don't have either of those. Part of me is tempted to get them, but this is a game that was dusty. I hadn't played it for more than a year, and I don't see it being a game I'm going to get out all that often. I really like it when I do play it, but my guess is it'll probably get dusty again. I don't necessarily want it to get dusty, but I have a lot of games, so that's Potion Explosion. All right, finally, the third new game that I tried recently is Argent the Consortium. Greetings to Gabriel Edge, or Proof Pad, over on our guild, who's a big fan of Argent the Consortium. I finally got it played. So Argent the Consortium is from 2015. This is from Level 99 Games. There is a newer edition of the game that is out that I do not have, but it's out. In Argent the Consortium, you play a member of the faculty at a wizarding school, something like Hogwarts, and it turns out that the headmaster of the school is retiring, and there's going to be an election of the new headmaster in 1 week. So you have 1 week to try to gather your political allies to get people to vote for you to be headmaster. Now, there's two really neat hooks or draws in this game. One, there is a panel of 12 voters, 2 of whom are known to everybody, and the other 10 of whom are secret. Those 12 voters come from a deck of 20 cards. And so if you are playing the game, you can have a pretty good idea of who some of the voters are. And you know some of them for sure. You start the game knowing one of the secret voters. You know 2 of them for sure. But then part of the game is you can look at other secret voters. And then your goal is to get the most votes at the end of the week. So it's really interesting. All of the machinations you do come down to, did you get all the most influence? Okay, so you get 1 point. And it comes down to how many points did you get? There are 12 points total to be had. And after those 12 are divvied up, whoever's the most influence out of the tied people becomes headmaster and wins the game. So that's one hook. The other hook is everybody's got these workers. There are 5 different kinds of workers. Each kind of worker interacts in a different way. And when I first heard about this, I thought it was incredibly complicated, and I was worried that the game would be too hard. It's the sort of thing that in 2015 probably was incredibly complicated. With the level of difficulty and complexity that I'm used to now in games, not that bad. But anyway, the 5 different worker types each have different reactions on the board. There's regular workers, there's aggressive wizards, there's defensive wizards, there's summoners and healers. And one of the things is when you place a worker on the board, like I said, you get an effect from them. But more importantly, some of the wizards allow you to do other things. Like the aggressive wizards can knock one of the other wizards off a spot. So if you want to go to a spot, you can. And unlike some later worker placement games where you place a worker and you immediately do the thing, in Argent, the Consortium, there's a worker placement round where everybody's putting out their workers. And once all the workers are out, then in order, the spots all activate. So there's some jockeying where you might put a worker down in one place to gain a resource, which you're then planning to spend with another worker. But then someone knocks you off that first space, and now your second worker does not do anything. There's a lot of really interesting stuff like that makes for a complicated game that's very aggressive. You're doing a lot of take that back and forth, attacking each other. But that's a big part of what makes it fun. I had a great time playing Argent the Consortium. It's a long game. I think it took us almost 4 hours, maybe over 4 hours. I don't recall. But it was a good time. I would say my one downside for it, I'm not a huge fan of anime style art or manga style art. And the art in this game is that style. If you know level 99 games, they have a very particular art style. This fits that style very closely. Not my favorite, but tolerable. I think the iconography could also be better. The icons themselves are in that style, so they're a little less smooth to read at distance than something a little more simple would be. Now, if you were to go buy this game right now, I believe you'd find the second edition, which I don't know for sure, may have cleaned up some of these issues. I can't tell whether that's true because I have the first edition, so it is what it is. But if you get a chance to play Argent the Consortium, I do recommend it. It is a game I would like to play again sometime soon. So those are the games I have played, some of the games I've played recently. What games have you played recently? Head over to Board Game Geek Guild 3269 and share your experiences. I'd love to know what's been on your table and what you've been enjoying. Thanks for joining me on my walk today. I hope that your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.